Well now, the entire fence just blew over from the wind. Oh, God is on our side, let me tell you. These guys have been eyeballing me the whole time, not liking the fact that I'm getting a vantage point from just over the fence. And then all of a sudden, kaboom! Down she goes. Now they're bringing out the reinforcements, trying to make sure this doesn't happen again. Got dudes standing out front here. Trying to do everything they possibly can to ensure that no media, no press gets to see who's coming and going. Why do you think that is, guys? Again, some of the world's most powerful and influential people meeting in secret, and they go to these kind of extremes to keep it from you. When people are doing good things, they don't shy away from the light, and we're going to keep shining that light. And kaboom! It happens again. Oh man, not even the reinforcements can stop it. Nothing can stop this thing from being exposed. This is beautiful. Yeah, they're gonna have a hard time today shielding these globalist insiders from the bright lights of independent media. Once again, thank you, God. Nicely done. So now they got this one dude. A lot of weight on his shoulders, a lot of responsibility. Keep them Bilderberger members shielded and protected from the cameras. Can't let the wind expose them again. Oh, a little bit of help, but not much. It's all on this guy. This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth. It's day 3 of the 72nd annual Bilderberg conference, and these guys are holding up the fence because it just blew over in some heavy winds. Oh, God is good, and He is on our side. Yesterday was the bulk of the meeting. Today is typically more casual. They usually go out for walks today. They'll sometimes even put them all on a bus, a couple of buses, and take them on a tour down to a museum or to a fancy dinner or something like that. So I'm going to be here on stakeout for the entirety of the day, waiting to pounce on any globalist insider who comes my way. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll see what we can get today. All right, guys, I just finished up a live broadcast with Alex Jones. We talked about so many different things in regards to the Bilderberg Group and what's happening right now with this particular meeting. We did delve deep into the topic, the agendas, the participants, you know, where I see this going from here, all sorts of stuff. So I figured I would share that one with you because it was an interesting interview. Check it out.
All right, we're going to go to Bilderberg 2026. They always meet in D.C. and Virginia at Chantilly. Not this year, at the Salamander, Washington, D.C. hotel. We have an overhead shot of this. Dan Dix is on the ground. I'll get his take on this and the agenda, because they didn't used to admit it exists. Now they put out their agenda. But that's only part of it, what his sources are saying, and more. We'll also get his take on Trump and where the world is and where he thinks all of this is going. We'll go to break briefly and come right back with the amazing journalist and investigative reporter, Dan Dix. Stay with us and share those live feeds at Real Life Shows on X and Rumble at The Alex Jones Show. You're the Paul Revere's. My friends, thank you so much again for joining us on this live Saturday transmission, 2:16 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're seeing footage from 2006 in Ottawa, Canada, when I went and covered the Bilderberg Group, got arrested, and government officials forced me to be released. They were so pissed. Back then, they were saying Bilderberg didn't exist. New York Times said I was insane when I covered it there. Europe, they would just say, Jones just goes to hotels and imagines men in sunglasses and helicopters and troops. None of it's real. Yeah, I didn't get the Queen of the Netherlands there. I didn't get David Rockefeller there. We didn't get documents from inside. But how far we've come to have this out in the open. Now, Dan Dix has been covering. I know Dan Dix, gosh, maybe 18 years. I don't know how long. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. He probably remembers better than I do. Investigative journalist out of Canada. What a great job he did down there at the business summit he was at when Puerto Vallarta got attacked a few months ago. Well, he joins us again at Dan Dix, Press for Truth, PFT, on X, Dan Dix, PFT, pressfortruth.ca, activist, journalist, award-winning filmmaker, and founder of Press for Truth. He joins us from D.C. This time it's in D.C. It's usually in Virginia, nearby. I've covered it many times, 3 times there alone. Now it's at the Salamander Hotel. Now they publish their agenda. We'll pull that up. Bilderberg meetings, I think you can pull that up. But Dan has it all linked, a lot of amazing videos. We'll have some B-roll of that and some clips of what's there, but he's on the ground in front of the hotel to report on it. They come in on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, meet, they play golf, and then leave Sunday. He's there to break this down, and I want to get into it. But then I want to get his take, he's a really smart guy, in general about the crisis in the White House, Israel open control, Melania coming out against his cover-up of Epstein, saying, no, it's real, the cover-up should end. I mean, this is just incredible. The inflation numbers coming in from the Strait of Hormuz, devastating the recovery, not just to us, but the whole world. I mean, Dan, what a time to be alive. Anybody saying it's ever a slow news day is insane, but you and I are so vindicated. When did I first start interviewing you? When did I first meet you, Dan?
Alex, we first met in 2006 in Ottawa, Canada at the Bilderberg conference. You interviewed me way back then, 20 years ago, and I made it into your film Endgame. And it's been a wild journey ever since. So it's been 20 years of covering Bilderberg, and now here we are outside the Salamander Hotel. This is the first time it's been held in April in over 33 years. The last time was in 1993. So this one seems a little bit out of the ordinary. This one is certainly a little bit odd, almost like they're having an emergency meeting, you know, in the midst of everything that's going on in the world. Like you said, these aren't quiet news days these days. So right here behind us, we've got 120 to 130 of the world's most powerful and influential people right now meeting behind these closed doors, essentially deciding the next phase of the plan, deciding how to, you know, manipulate people into going along with their plan. And yeah, we just got the agenda list. We just got the participants list. And I'm boots on the ground here, going to be reporting for the next couple of days to try to document who's here. As you know, Alex, sometimes there's discrepancies in the participants list. You end up getting people who were here who are not on the official list.
Oh, remember we caught that year I met you as a journalist that Hillary snuck in what later came out. So let's talk about this then. You stole my thunder, and I meant to bring that up. They're meeting over a month early, haven't done it in 36 years. Obviously a crisis meeting to bump this up. This is a big deal. We know from internal documents that leaked from Congress, this is a super management group over the CFR, the Royal Institute of International Affairs in the UK, the EU groups, the CIA, the intelligence agencies. I mean, this is one of the top meetings. And the Bilderberg Steering Committee has all the key people over all the other globalist control systems. This is the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that they're meeting right now begs a lot of questions. When you got the head of the IMF, you got the heads of Palantir, you've got the, what is his name, Daniel Driscoll, the Secretary of the Army. This is the guy who's leading the military-industrial complex, meeting in secret right now with guys like Mark Rutte, also, you know, the Secretary General of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, one of the biggest military operations in the world, meeting right now in the midst of this Trump epic fury campaign. So, you know, obviously NATO can't just invoke Article 5 and start attacking, because it's, you know, they have to do that when they are attacked. But obviously it was Israel and America who attacked first. So there is no, you know, defense play here. So it begs the question, why now? Why do we have these top players in war, in AI, in finance, all meeting right now in this like bizarre emergency meeting that happens to be coinciding with Trump's Epic Fury campaign. And then you just look at the agenda list. You've got things like the future.
Well, let's stop there. I was going to go there next, but I want to just go back for a moment. That was my next point. You're reading my mind. Well, now they put it on an agenda for you. You used to say it didn't exist until about 12, 14 years ago. It sounds crazy now, pushing out in the open again. If you just deny something, the devil's one of his biggest tricks is he doesn't exist. But looking at this, you would expect, though, if you had 130 top sports stars meeting or 130 top movie stars meeting or 130 top philanthropists, it would be in the news. Let me guess, not a lot of media out there, not a lot of coverage, huh? So instead of denying it exists, they just don't cover it.
Well, there's absolutely nobody here in terms of...
Yeah, give us a 360 shot. Give us a shot.
Yeah, here we go. This is it. It's me. There's zero cameras, zero, we got two other journalists hanging out right back there, and that's it. But on the inside, of course, you've got people like Ann Applebaum, the staff writer for The Atlantic. You've got like John Micklethwaite, the editor-in-chief for Bloomberg. You've got Zanny Mitten-Bedos, the editor-in-chief for The Economist. Like, these are the guys who are controlling the narrative, are on the inside right now. So
yeah, for people that don't know, to be rock stars in corporate media, usually have 3 to 4 journalist heads there a year. Bloomberg, The Atlantic, The Economist. The Economist is owned by the Rothschilds. The Atlantic is the CIA and owned by the wife of the widow of Steve Jobs and totally into Pedo Island. And then Bloomberg, total New World Order that was behind the lawsuits against me, we now know. That is a huge deal. That's who's in there.
Yeah, and when you've got some of the heads of the biggest media being in there, and when they really ought to be on this side of the fence, Alex, they really ought to be out here standing side by side with people like me and exposing this. But I guess when you're invited in, you kind of have to sell your soul and do things that you shouldn't be doing. But
and let's talk about compartmentalizations, because we're simpatico, and then we'll get into the agenda, which is not always the full agenda, but it was a lot of it, which is amazing, from their own website, folks. It's real. Now, of course, everybody knows that now. Used to have to explain it was real. I can pull up New York Times articles where they said, Jones is literally schizophrenic in the woods in Chantilly. There's no one there. He's imagining men in sunglasses. I got detained, arrested. Jim Tucker got shot at. I mean, it's like literally saying, but they don't have that power anymore. But looking at this, before we get into the agenda, just imagine the compartmentalization. In fact, maybe if somebody just randomly walks by, unless they're hotel staff, they won't even know, and say, hey, did you know the world leader meeting in there? They'll think you're crazy. Again, think of the compartmentalization. Here's an example. He sold on it, so he's not involved with it anymore. But Joe Rogan, moved to Austin about 5 years ago. He's right down the street from my offices, the Infor studios. And now it's no secret, so I'll talk about it. His studios are 200 yards from On It, which they didn't even know he owned it, even though it's public. I've worked out On It, some great people there, great gym. Now they changed the name of it. But I'll be sitting there in the sauna or lifting weights. Oh, Joe Rogan, yeah, he's cool. Where are his studios? I'll never say it. I'm like, oh, Yoda not far. No, literally 200 yards away is the studios. It's an example of compartmentalization. They don't know it's right there. It's the same thing here. Because we've done this in Europe and places. Hey, do you know the Bilderberg Group? What's that? Do you know World Elite? No, I don't believe it. They're meeting right there. It's a perfect example of how it's right there through the wall from us, but as long as the press covers it up, we don't know. Dan Dix.
Yeah, Alex, you just reminded me of a time that I managed to infiltrate the Bilderberg Hotel in Austria, and I got on the inside because they mistakenly thought that I was a part of the White House press corps. So once I was actually in there during lockdown, I went to the cigar room, and up in the cigar room was members of the press. There was MSNBC, there was CNN, and a few others. And it turns out they were there to cover the G7 in Munich. They had a helicopter picking up these guys in the Bilderberg Hotel and taking them elsewhere to cover the G7. And I said to them, guys, do you not realize who is in this hotel right here where you are currently staying? And I said, have you not heard of Bilderberg Group, some of the most powerful and influential people in the world? And they were, what's Bilderberg? They were completely clueless about it, and they were literally staying in the same hotel during lockdown, and they didn't even know what was going on. So you want to talk about compartmentalization and just sheer secrecy. it's beyond insane, Alex. So
absolutely. Now let's move to what you tried to get to, but I wanted you to take your time on this. Let's put on screen. We give the Bill Bilderberg URL out. Here they are giving out their agenda, which we know is not always the whole agenda. Tucker would go in days before, talk to waitresses and stuff, and say, I know you're not going to do it now, but when they're rude to you and mean to you, later, I'm not going to pay you, but give me the garbage. Give me the papers. That's how he would do it. He would learn even more. But here it is. Go over this agenda right here.
Yeah, I mean, digital finance obviously is a big one to think about. We're talking about global CBDCs, the eventual implementation of a centralized banking digital currency, the crashing of the dollar, and essentially controlling the economies of the world. I think the top one, AI, can really coincide with the future of warfare, which is a little further down the list. Those two kind of go hand in hand. We're talking, autonomous drones. We're talking predictive battles, AI targeting. They're literally using the technology to bring us into their future of warfare, and especially when you guys got guys like Alex Karp, who's on the inside there, co-founder of Palantir, who's running all these contracts with various militaries in order to use their AI technology in warfare. I think those two are very key. You got energy diversification. You got a guy in here called, what is his name? Fatah Birol. He is the the director of International Energy Association. And they literally just recently announced a 10-point plan for how to deal with an upcoming energy crisis. And it's
caused by the data centers that the head of Alphabet, parent company Google, says will need 100 times all the power humans are using. So under carbon taxes, we can't have a car air conditioning, as Obama said, but the computers to track us and control us can have 100 times what we use.
And you look at it, and it's COVID 2.0 on steroids. It's essentially more lockdowns, more just work
and we
from home.
think of like black people or white people fighting over resources. That's how they, but no, it's all about machines are getting everything. You get nothing. You're obsolete. You're non-essential. This is all essential. Yeah,
exactly. I just ran into two guys yesterday, and I managed to talk to Eric Schmidt, he's basically like the protege of Henry Kissinger, and now he's writing books about AI, both warning about it and at the same time saying it's going to be the best thing that mankind has ever had. And
we need 100 times the current power to power. He said that last year at Stanford.
Yeah, these guys absolutely can't be trusted. You've got another guy who's dealing with AI and health technology, and then you've got the head of Pfizer in here. And when we've recently heard that guy Larry, what's his name, from Oracle,
Larry Ellison,
talking about Ellison using AI technology in vaccines, and then this other guy Jacobs, who's meeting in here, who's dealing with AI and health technology, meeting with the head of Pfizer behind closed doors. It makes you wonder what they have in store for the future of the next coming pandemic that is going to be dropped.
Oh, they said that's their big thing is disease X. I don't know if you want to do this, but I kind of want to give them credit. Let me guess, is that the London Guardian? They're one of the few mainstream things that report on it. Who are those reporters 50 feet from you?
This is Josh Friedman. Some of his stuff you've seen on Twitter.
I know him, yeah.
And this is Joseph Philip Daniel right back there.
You want to see if they want to talk to us a little bit? Do they can go off your headphones?
I'm sure they do. Joseph is.
Go ahead and interview him. You're hosting for a few minutes. Go ahead and interview him. They'll hear off your headset.
Joseph, you started covering Bilderberg with me last year in Sweden. Let me get your take on this year here in Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast. You're an American. Tell us your experience.
Well, I was able to confront some of the security people not too long ago, and I've been able to see some very demonic individuals here, and it's been an honor speaking what the Holy Spirit wants me to speak to those demon-possessed Bilderbergers that I've got to interact with. And hopefully I'll get to meet Schmidt, and hopefully I'll be able to meet the guy who sold out the most powerful committee on Capitol Hill, the Ways and Means Committee, the guy from Missouri, Jason Smith. I need to confront him, and I need to expose him because he's totally selling out. the Capitol Hill most powerful committee to the Bilderbergers. It's insane. It needs to stop. And then we have Driscoll, who is the representative of the U.S. Army here, basically giving the keys of the U.S. Army over to the shadow, demonically possessed Satanists leading the Bilderberg cult.
Yeah, so it's great having having a crew and having a team here to be able to have my back, and not just my back. We're constantly having each other's back.
Well, ask him this question. I'm sure he can't hear me. Ask him this question. I'm going to ask you this first and ask him. Isn't this a perfect microcosm, or not even microcosm, example of this, but 35,000 foot and 1 inch above under a microscope, of you've got no kings funded by the globalists to control the left so they go nowhere, all these other protest movements out protesting no kings. Here's the actual secret elite, and there's no one there but you. I mean, I feel bad I didn't go because it snuck up on me. The producer goes, Bilderberg's now? I was like, no, Dan Dix told me yesterday. I'm like, what? I thought it's in May or June. What are you talking about? Or into May. So here we are. This is like crazy that we're in the middle of this global crisis. Here's the actual controllers, and there's 3 people they're covering. And I mean, this is just insane. So I mean, ask him that well, you respond, but let him know the dichotomy of this is where people, there should be 1 million people there protesting. They're protesting the actual establishment. Go ahead, not some puppet president. Go ahead.
Well, Alex, you may remember when we covered it in Chantilly, Virginia in 2020, there was like hundreds of people. There must have been 600 to 800 people piled out.
And that's because they denied it existed since the 70s and said it was insane. And then Drudge was linking to us, so it was hot. Exactly. Says we need to remember this and not just move on. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there was hundreds of people standing outside there. There was dozens of different independent media there back then. I ended up making a documentary film out of that particular footage. It's called The Turning Point. If people want to check that out, I make the Canadian connection to Bilderberg. But then you look at the year later in England, there was hundreds and hundreds of people. You, me, David Icke, we all get.
Yeah, what was that town north, so beautiful, north of London, Rolling Green Hills? We had like 4,000 protesters out. Well, what was that?
Yeah,
what was that town? God, that was incredible. Me and David Icke spoke to like 4,000 people. The police go, don't try to rush the hotel. We said, I said, no, we're here to have a protest peaceful. They were like, okay, great. But that was crazy.
Yeah.
What was that town?
I remember that. I don't remember the name of the town. That's going back now about 13 years or something like that. But I was there. Yeah, we all gave speeches there. And then fast forward to today here in 2026 in the belly.
Yeah. So what changed? We had 4,000 protesters at least, peaceful, right there over the hill, over the beautiful rolling hills, this beautiful hotel with thousands of police, and now crickets.
Well, there are protesters just down the street. I can almost see them from here. They're just around the corner, and they're out here protesting ICE. They don't even realize. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the UN is running replacement migration. The invasion is being run from here, and they're out defending the invasion.
Yeah, there's a group of about a dozen or so protesters just down the street protesting ICE, and it's kind of unfortunate that things have kind of slowed down in that regards. But we're not certainly going to slow down.
But that's the Streisand. That's the Streisand effect. When they denied it, it put heat on it. It was kind of smart of them to go, okay, here's our agenda, move on. Sorry. Yeah, ask your fellow reporter what he thinks about that.
Yeah, we'll get your guys' take on the fact that the protest movement and people confronting Bilderbergers and all that has kind of died down in recent years, and there's nobody here but us 3 right now.
Well, in terms of the protest movement, not entirely. Last year in Sweden, there was a pretty big protest, which you yourself spoke at and filmed. So there, we have Sikorsky and
Sikorsky and Applebaum right behind us.
Go talk to him. Go talk to him.
Foreign Minister.
You're live with Alex Jones right now, guys. What do you think about the future of warfare topic? Is there anything you can tell us about that one?
We got a chuckle. I don't think in USA last year, but I don't know if the foreign minister has had as intriguing of tweets. I think you had something to say about Maduro, like couldn't have happened to a nicer man. Any comment about the state of the world right now?
You're all going to have to take that. Wow. So that was Sikorsky and Ann Applebaum just walked right
and for
past
folks
us.
that don't know who that is, tell them.
Well, again, she is the as he said, the head of the fake news. And Josh, why don't you tell us about what you just asked? What's his name?
Radosław Sikorski.
Sikorski.
He's the foreign minister of Poland. Both Applebaum, who's his wife, and Sikorski were previously on the Bilderberg steering committee. He gave up that, well, Sikorski for sure, I'm forgetting about Applebaum, but Sikorski gave up that position to return to the Polish government where he's foreign minister. I've run into him a few times outside these events. I previously asked him twice, actually, about the tweet that he put out right after the destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline. He tweeted, "Thank you, USA," and then promptly deleted it. But that tweet's gotten quite a lot of attention. So I've tried asking him about it repeatedly. Last year, that got a chuckle out of Miss Applebaum. It seemed...
And obviously, you ask him this, Poland's important because that's the main base for the full war with Russia.
They don't seem to be in as good of a mood this time.
Yeah.
Ask him why is Poland so central, obviously, to the larger war they want to have?
Why is Poland so central, do you think, with the larger war that's going on?
Well, Poland is a key country in NATO, not just in NATO, but in Europe. There's been a huge economic, if not power shift to Poland. So many people who had moved from Poland to the UK, for instance, are moving back to Poland. There's talk of Poland getting nukes. Poland is a key contributor to all things the transatlantic alliance. And yes, it's neighboring Ukraine, where obviously there's a war that is...
Yeah, the Russians say they're going to hit Poland first. It's the main staging ground. Dan.
So this is the day, like yesterday was the main bulk of the meeting, where they really have the meat and potatoes, where they discuss, their plans, the next phase. But today is usually a little bit more casual, where you're going to get that kind of interactions where they're just out here going for a walk. Sometimes they'll even put them all on a bus and take them out in downtown, and they'll go to a museum, or they'll go out to some fancy dinner. And that typically happens on the third day, which is today. So this is some of the gold moments here, where we really got to be on our guard and be on stakeout and keep our eyes on the back of our heads, because as you've seen, they're just kind of walking around out here and are, we're just ready to pounce.
Well, Dan, it's probably important, and we're going to keep watching. Let's put up Press for Truth on X. We should probably, after you're gone, play some of the videos. What's some of the best stuff you've gotten while you've been there?
I threw together a solid report about the agenda and the updated participants list. Just earlier today, there was some funny videos of this fence blowing down in the wind, and they were having a really hard time trying to contain it, and I kind of joked, but in all seriousness, saying God is on our side here, helping us to
Big Bad Wolf.
These guys. Yeah.
So let's do this in closing, and I want to get you back on if you can, the Sunday night show or whatever. Maybe you can host an hour or something, but because that way you just go free flow with it. Oh, Dan Bongino says I tried to make him script things and lie 10 years ago. All these hosts and guests have come on and said Jones never told me what to say. Jones never even pre-scripted anything. Dan, did I talk to you before this interview? Did I tell you what to say here today? Bongino claims it's all a fraud. Ask him to lie on air.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Speaking of Bongino, it was Joseph Philip Daniel, the big guy here, who's the one who recently confronted him, and that went pretty mega.
Get him
viral.
Over there. I want to ask you, because literally...
hey, Joseph.
I mean, I never did anything to Bongino. He's now lying, saying that I told him to lie on air. To tell him that Bongino's been... Go ahead.
Yeah, Joseph Philip Daniel here confronted Dan Bongino very recently. Tell us about that.
Well, the Holy Spirit led me to be in the right place at the right time. First, I got assaulted almost by a security person when I tried to enter into the event inside that Jensen Beach Resort in Florida. So then I went downstairs in the lobby to be with Stuart Rhodes and the great Ivan Raiklin, to wait for Bongino to walk down the steps. And then as he was walking down, he had a goon say, "If you dare say anything to the Lord, Bongino, I'm going to trespass you," basically. And I just kept speaking exactly what the Holy Spirit wanted me to speak to that demon-possessed, deranged, mentally ill, brain damaged from a Pfizer jab man, Dan Bongino. I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid. And he said, "Oh, why don't you volunteer basically for, being in a government position? I plan on running for Congress in the years to come. I plan on fighting against the Clinton crime family and the Obama crime family for Jesus Christ. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of Satan, and I'm not afraid of dying."
Tell him about the Bongino is now telling. Bongino's now saying 10 years ago I told him to lie on air, but he still went on air and implies he lied with me. Totally insane. All these hundreds of guests come on and said, Joan says, what are your topics? What do you want to hit? I'm the CNN, others all will know what you're going to say. My guest host, me on air, it's the opposite of who I am. It's just such a transparent lie. Well, he lied to us and said Epstein killed himself. Epstein wasn't a child molester. There's nothing here to see. Crooks acted alone in Pennsylvania. He lies to your face and then says, now I'm a liar because they're so upset I'm exposing him.
Yeah, I mean, I've met you a number of times, Alex. I know you're the real deal. I know you're genuine. Like you said, nothing is ever scripted. It's always off the cuff. And this guy is just an absolute crook and a criminal. And I'm glad he's being exposed now by guys like Joseph here and others. There was also Ivan, guys I'm recently following. He follows me now. He was there exposing him as well. This is exactly what we need to see more of moving forward. These guys can't continue to hide. They can continue to try to put up their fences. They can continue to try to, get their security goons to keep us away, but we're not shying away anytime soon.
Well, yeah, exactly. The reason I raised up Bongino, not as he attacked me, he comes on yesterday and says, Alex Jones asked me to lie on air 10 years ago. It was horrible. I won't tell you what he said, but I still went on. Implying he did the lie. It's just like, it's like a total lie. It's like, oh, you're on about your book about Obama. Come on the show. Like, now let's lie about this. I mean, it's so, he like doesn't know that he's so unpopular. He doesn't know he's a liar, but it shows what's coming is just more intense lies, more intense control. So let's shift gears and this is closing. Once you get back to incredible journalism you're involved in, we'll all follow you, Press for Truth, and have you back in the next few days to get through all these incredible clips, because I know you got a bunch of stuff. But doing real journalism here. I haven't asked you this, didn't talk before you came on, whole scripting, I was going to lie. I just, Dari said, hey, he's there yesterday, and I said, good, get him on. I'm glad she raised that, even though Bilderberg was happening a month early, with all the scripting we do. What do you make of Trump and Melania contradicting him and saying, no, there's a cover-up of Epstein, bring it all out, and then all his attacks on everybody and loving Mark Levin and nuclear war? What do you think's going on with Trump? I mean, he has really passed his expiration date, I think.
Oh yeah. I think it's just about time now that he's being fully exposed. I've been here obviously focused on this for the last few days, so I'm just seeing the Melania Trump in your intro there before you had me on, seeing it for the first time really, and I think more and more people are going to start distancing themselves from Trump. I'm glad that I kind of started warning people back in 2016 about jumping in bed with him, and now it's starting to come to fruition that look, he's not necessarily what he promised to be. I mean, when do these politicians ever keep their campaign promises? We're starting to see he's turning out to be just like the rest of them, and now doing things like preemptively attacking Iran, doing everything he warned that Obama was going to do. He's now basically doing it himself. And
listen, I know you were an early critic, and I get it. He wasn't perfect. I saw them attacking him, but it was mainly another globalist group trying to take over from the main globalists. Now we see, and the good we got, I'm not going to apologize. I think overall it was better than what we were going to have with all the rest of the crazies. But yeah, now definitely. I mean, Israel's out in the open saying, we run your country. I mean, you know me, I don't have neither you, some Israel hard on, but now Israel is literally all the bad cliches. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's finally all starting to come out anyways. And more people are starting to realize what we're actually dealing with here. And
why do you think he's blackmailed, compromised, out of his mind? Where do you see this going? I mean, this is disastrous. He'll destroy a whole civilization. We got on his ass. He backed off. Now Israel blows everything up in Lebanon and Iran to end the peace deal, admits it. I mean, Trump's not running things. It's really true. Israel literally runs our foreign policy right now. Israel runs the greatest superpower in the world. That is crazy.
I think at this stage of the game and what we're dealing here with groups like this, you don't necessarily become president of the United States unless you're allowed to be placed in that position. Now, the extent to which he's being used as a puppet and how much he realizes this can certainly be debated. But I think at this stage in the operation for a one world government, new world order agenda, you don't get to that position unless there are certain powers that ought not be, as I like to call them, who are allowing that to happen for a particular purpose. So again, like I said, the extent to which he's being used as a puppet and how much he knows this or not can certainly be debated, but you just got to judge them by their fruits, Alex, as you know, and look at what he's producing today. It's nothing good. It's filthy, rotten, and it stinks. So I'm glad people are waking up to it. That's for sure.
I agree. I've been asking the questions for 40 minutes. You got the floor for 5 minutes. Dan Dick's a really smart guy. I really respect you. Incredible filmmaker. Watch his films. There's so many. They're just amazing. I'm always finding a new one I didn't see. The old stuff's just as good as the new stuff. It's all evergreen. Closing 4 or 5 minutes, whatever you want. Go 10 if you want. What else you want to impart to people?
Well, I just want people to realize that, you know, if you're on the fence about stuff like this or getting involved, you know, now is the time. I mean, obviously, it's crunch time. You just look around in the world at the things that are happening right now, and, you know, we need to get involved. There was a movement that was really building and growing post 9/11, and it maybe seemed to have peaked around that 2012, 2013 era where there was hundreds and hundreds of people coming out and fighting the globalists, and things seem to have shifted in recent years. And as you know, these people are propagandists. They understand how to manipulate our behaviors. They understand how to steer people into their desired direction. So really, we just need to wake up to that fact, and we need to network with one another. We got to get more involved and start coming out and exposing this kind of stuff. On top of that, though, it's going to be incredibly important for you to start focusing on, networking with like-minded people, starting to grow your own food, starting to get yourself some gold, some silver, some guns, some ammo, figuring out how to be self-sustainable, no longer reliant on the government, no longer reliant on the banks, and no longer reliant on the grocery stores, because these guys have a massive plan. And the plan is to essentially implement, let's get it straight, a one world government, a one world digital cash system, a one world religion, a one world police force that will be used to essentially go against anybody who is going against this stuff. And that's been the agenda for not just decades, not just hundreds of years, for a very, very, very long time. And it is accelerating here in the 21st century. So, I mean, beyond crunch time. Let's just put it that way. It's beyond crunch time.
Well, at least humanity's not halfway awake now. You agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is an awakening happening, and I'm very blessed to be a part of it. I'm thankful that this is continuing to happen, but we just got to get the momentum going. We got to keep it going strong.
Well, next time you learn Bilderberg's happening early, call me. I would have joined you.
Yeah. I mean, this was a very last-minute one for me, too, Alex. It was just a couple days ago. I didn't know I'd be heading out to Washington, D.C. to be standing out here in front of the globalists.
That's why I got producers. Callers call me all the time and go, why did you cover this? Because I didn't know about it. Like, you got to tell us, folks. I'm not God. Far from it. Good God.
Yeah, so we would have loved to have you here. Everybody would have loved to have seen that. But yeah, very last minute for us too. It's a miracle that I was even able to come and cover it myself. But that's what it's going to take for people to be willing to just kind of dive in headfirst and do these sorts of things. And I really hope people out there will join us and get inspired by this and think, hey, if this guy could just walk around in front of the Bilderberg Hotel with a cell phone and go live with Alex Jones and confront people like Sikorsky and Applebaum who are walking around in the open, why can't I go out and do that?
Well, last point. I totally agree with you. Any other points you want to make? But last point. Mm-hmm. People don't know, Canada is like as bad as the UK or worse. They're passing all these laws banning the Bible, euthanasia for kids, government forced. I mean, Canada is in deep crap under Carney.
Yeah, things are getting really bad there. Carney, of course, is a Bilderberg puppet. Guy's been coming out for years. He's been on the steering committee. I successfully predicted way back in 2024 that Bilderberg was going to make him the next prime minister. 8 months.
You said that when nobody did.
Absolutely. 8 months before he even announced his liberal leadership bid, and then sure enough, here we are. And this is a guy, he's a former central bankster. He's a former governor of the Bank of England. former governor of the Bank of Canada. So I think they're getting a central bankster in as the next prime minister, as the prime minister, to implement this global digital CBDC that's coming down the pike. But yeah, we've got Bill C9, which is dealing with banning the Bible, essentially stopping you from being able to quote things like Leviticus because it talks about, you know, a man is supposed to be wed to a woman, and that's supposed to be, you know, hateful under this bill. You've got euthanasia popping off like insane. We're talking 100,000 deaths since the beginning.
99% white. They're targeting whites.
And it makes up 5% of all deaths in Canada is coming now from medical assistance in dying, which was legalized back in 2016. There are more people are dying by that than by than died in the Second World War. So, you know, basically, so what's happening with MAID is absolutely shocking.
Well, let's get you on the next week or two about Canada itself, because it's a microcosm for all the rest of us. Dan Dix, Press for Truth PFT on X, pressfortruth.ca, and what's the other guys? How do people find the other guys you're with?
Best to find them is on Twitter. Josh and what's your Twitter, guys? We'll get a plug in for them too, because Joseph Philip Daniel's doing great work. Where can they find you, bro?
Jesus First 1776 on X is where you can find me. God bless you all. I love you, Alex. Keep listening to the Holy Spirit. That's the key. Listen to the Holy Spirit. You got it, man.
And Josh Friedman on X, he goes by
at Freeman Reporter on X.
Yeah, at Freeman Reporter, and you heard it there from Joseph Philip Daniel too. And I'm Dan Dix PFT, and you can find my stuff on pressfortruth.ca. If you go to pressfortruth.ca/subscribe, you'll find me on all the various platforms.
All right, Dan, let's talk soon. Incredible job. We'll keep watching your channel for more. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Alex. You take care and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Right now, outside the hotel, things are eerily quiet. Like, it's bizarre. They are very, very quiet. There's almost nothing going on right now at all, and it's very out of the ordinary. In fact, this entire year's meeting has been very out of the ordinary. Obviously, with the fact that they're meeting in April for the first time in 33 years is very strange and not normal. But today is typically the day where it's a little more casual, and they go on walks and they go outside, and we usually get to speak with like dozens of them, and today was absolutely the opposite. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's because it's Washington DC, or maybe it's because, you know, we're on them constantly the moment they step foot on public property. But at any rate, they're not coming out today. I mean, you saw Sikorsky and Applebaum walk behind me right in the middle of my interview with Alex Jones. Those were pretty much the only two all day that I've seen after being on stakeout for 12 hours here today. And on top of that, usually they go on some sort of a trip. They load them onto a couple of buses and they go downtown to dinner or something like that, and there was none of that today either. There was no mass exodus of participants, and it was just bizarre. It got to the point where we're kind of wondering if they're even here anymore. I mean, we're really not seeing anybody today. It's very, very strange. I don't know what to make of it. Either way, tomorrow is another day. It's again, typically a day where it's good to go to the airport and catch them as they're getting out of their cars and heading in to, you know, board their flights. But the way things have been going, it's really tough to say if we're going to catch any of them tomorrow, but I'm certainly going to try. But as I said, everything about this particular event this year has been nothing normal whatsoever. In the 20 years that I've been covering this, this one has been very, very strange, to say the least. I guess I'm going to have to leave it at that for today. I'm going to stick around here for another hour or so until the sun goes down, but just judging by the way it feels around here, I don't think any more of them are either coming out or are even in there. So something has changed. you know, something has changed. There's nothing about this year's event has been like any other year that I've covered. So at any rate, I'm going to continue to give this a shot again. Tomorrow we'll head here first, and then we'll head down to the airport to see what we can get. But hopefully we can start nabbing some of the bigger names and get those tough questions and confrontations in that you've come to love and appreciate from PFT. So we're going to try our best. Guys, if you do appreciate my efforts to continuously be out here trying to hold their feet to the fire as best as I can, please check out that Go Get Funding campaign. There's going to be a link to that in the description below. Thank you so much to everybody who has contributed so far. It's only because of viewers like you who make it possible for me to come out and even attempt to do these types of things. So I really do appreciate anybody who does contribute. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's greatly appreciated. And that's all for today, for day 3. Wish me luck for tomorrow, and stay tuned for that coverage coming soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.